Yesterday we were discussing cost of equity. We continue with the sum. We've done the first sum. Now let's start with the second sum. X Limited has a earning per share. Am I clearly audible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
So here they have not given us the dividend, but they have given us earning per share. I'm writing the full form now. Henceforth, I'll be writing it as EPS. So earning per share is nothing but EPS. So they've given us the EPS as 30 rupees. Now this is not dividend. This is what the company has earned. And out of whatever it earns, it doesn't give entire thing as dividend. Okay, the company's payout ratio is 40%. Now see here, dividend, now we will calculate. Dividend they are saying is they will pay 40%. Payout ratio means out of whatever they earn, 40% of that they are going to give as dividend. So we know that our EPS is 30 rupees. So EPS 30 rupees. We have to find 40% of this, which is what is dividend that they are going to give. So can anybody tell me 40% of 30 rupees?
12.
12, ma'am.
So dividend is 12 rupees. Then they have told us it is expected to grow at 4% annually. So growth rate is 4%. What would be the cost of equity if the share price is rupees 150 per share? So they have given us the market price per share, which is 150. So we have all the values. Instead of giving dividend, they gave you earning per share. That's the reason we had to calculate dividend, which is nothing but they'll give you the payout ratio, and whatever is the payout ratio, that much percentage of EPS will be the dividend. So now we can find cost of equity, which is the formula is dividend divided by MPS plus growth rate into 100. So first we divide dividend divided by MPS. To that we add growth rate, and then the entire equation we multiply it with 100. So KE is equals to dividend 12 rupees divided by market price per share 150 rupees plus growth rate is 4%. 4% if I convert in decimals it's 0.04 into 100. So please solve and tell me how much you get cost of equity.
Twelve, ma'am.
12%.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Shweta, Purneshwari, Dolly, all about 12%. So this is how you have to calculate cost of equity if dividend is not given directly. Let's go to the next sum. ABC Limited is currently earning rupees 2,50,000 as profit for its shareholders. The company has a policy of 60% payout ratio. Currently, the equity shares are sold for, sorry, just change it, sold for rupees 120 per share. There are 10,000 shares outstanding and the growth rate is 4%. What is the cost of equity? So let's do it. We can do it taking the entire amount also, or even we can do it. No, in this case, we need to do it per share only, because if you see here, they've given currently the equity shares are sold at for rupees 120 per share, and the formula also clearly says that it is dividend divided by market price per share plus growth rate. So we need to calculate dividend also per share. Let's see what all is given. It is giving their current earnings rupees 2,50,000 as profit, and this is for shareholders. The company has a policy of 60% payout, so dividend will be 60% of 2,50,000. Just see how much you get. 60% of 2,50,000.
15,000, ma'am.
1 5. No. 60% of
No,
2
ma'am.
One
1,50,000.
150, ma'am.
1
50,000, ma'am.
50,000 is the total dividend because we are fine. These are total earnings for all the shareholders. It's not earning per share or dividend per share. These are total. Okay, now because we are taking market price per share, we have to also find dividend per share. So for that, they have told here there are 10,000 shares outstanding. That means the company has sold or has issued 10,000 shares. So I'll write here number of shares 10,000. Okay. Now we can find dividend per share. So the total dividend you calculated it as 1,50,000. Okay, so we know that for all the 10,000 shareholders, total is 1,50,000. If I want to know per share, I can do 1,50,000 divided by
10.
10,000 shares. How much you get?
15, ma'am.
15.
15 rupees per share. Okay, so dividend per share is rupees 15. Now we'll see they've given the market price per share. MPS is 120. Have they given the growth rate? Yes, growth rate is 4% is what they say. So G is 4%. They're asking us to calculate the cost of equity. So cost of equity is equals to dividend. Sorry. Dividend 15 rupees divided by market price per share 120 rupees plus growth rate. So see how much is the growth rate? 0.04 into 100. Just see, one of you tell me the answer. How much you get?
16.5,
16.5.
ma'am.
16.5.
5.
So this is the cost of equity. I hope all of you are getting it. Any doubts in this sum? Should I go to the next one? The ninth problem. PQ Limited has earnings of rupees 30 lakh on its 1 lakh shares. Current market price is rupees 250 per share and the growth rate is 4%. What is the cost of equity? So again it is like the similar above problem. I'll give you 2 minutes. Can you try? I'll do it, but I want you all to at least make an attempt. I'll wait for 2-3 minutes. At least try to make an attempt. I hope you all are trying.
16%, ma'am.
16%. Okay. They've given that earnings 30 lakhs. Dividend will be they've not told anything about dividend payout ratio, so we will take full 30 lakhs as dividend, because if they've not mentioned anything, that means they're going to pay the entire amount of dividend. Otherwise, they would have mentioned the payout ratio. So 30 lakhs. But we want per share dividend, so divided by 1 lakh shares. So you get it as rupees 30 per share. Cost of equity is equals to dividend 30 rupees divided by market price per share 250 rupees plus growth rate 0.04 into 100. Have you done it like this only and got 16%?
Yes, ma'am.
If you want, I'll write a note here as dividend payout ratio is not given. We have taken entire earnings as dividend, assuming company pays 100% of their earnings as dividend. Because if they don't give the ratio, we cannot assume, we cannot say company will pay 30%, 40%, 60%. So we are thinking whatever is earned entirely is gone to equity shareholders. So 100% dividend is what we have to take and give it. So 30 lakh, full 30 lakh has gone as dividend is what we do. So here are the dividend per share. Let's do the next sum. M Limited has a EPS of rupees 24. Again, the same EPS is equals to 24. Market price per share is 160. NPS is 160. Growth rate is 3%. So G is 3%. Find the cost of equity. Now we don't want EPS, we want dividend per share. So dividend is equal to EPS, which is equal to 24 rupees. Here if you want, you can write as payout ratio is not given. So if they don't give the payout ratio, what we do? We assume 100% total earnings are completely paid to equity shareholders. So we assume that full 24 rupees EPS is the dividend. So finding cost of equity. Dividend
18, ma'am.
24 divided by 160 into 3%, plus 3% into 100. Yes, you're getting it as 18%.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
18%. It is similar like the above sum. If you want, you can even just copy down the same note. This note I have given so that later when you study, you should understand why EPS only is taken as dividend. Because in the above problems, we found out dividend because their payout ratio was given. Okay, let's go to the next sum. XYZ company is currently traded at rupees 5 per share and announced a dividend of rupees 0.50 per share. A dividend growth of 2% is expected. Find the cost of equity. Okay. So it is traded at rupees 5 per share, means MPS is 5 rupees. It has announced a dividend of 50 paise. So dividend is 0.50. Growth rate is 2%. Now we have to find the cost of equity. It is equal to dividend 0.50 divided by market price per share 5 rupees plus growth rate 2%, that is 0.02 into 100. See how much you get.
12%, ma'am.
12%, ma'am.
Okay. So this is the cost of equity. Any other doubts, anybody? This was dividend approach. I hope all of you are getting it and you've copied it down. If any doubts you can ask, otherwise I'll move to CAPM model. Okay. Before I start with CAPM model, I have to tell you some theory. So just give me 2 minutes. I'll open the PPT and just 2 minutes. There was network problem. Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
So cost of equity. Okay, CAPM model, which we also call it as capital asset pricing model. Here what we do is we are basically trying to consider the risk and the return both. So that's the reason this model is come up for cost of equity. If you see the dividend model, we just take dividend and market price per share. So only on the return and the market price we are focusing. We are not focusing on the risk of the company. Whereas CAPM model focuses on the risk factor. So they say it describes the trade-off between risk and return for securities. Trade-off means balancing. So CAPM model is helping you to balance between risk and return of the securities. It is based on certain assumptions. So what are those assumptions? The very first assumption is the efficiency of security market. Now when we say assumptions, that basically means it may or may not be true, because in real life it may not exist. So there are certain things that don't exist in real life, but the theory assumes. The first is the efficiency of security market. The stock market or the security market is not efficient because every one of us don't have the same information. So this is just an assumption in the theory. First, under efficiency in security market, they say there are no taxes, which is again not true, because we have to pay taxes on the dividend received, on the shares sold, and whatever profit we earn. Then there are no transaction costs. This is also not true. Whenever you tell your broker to buy shares or sell shares, he will deduct some brokerage fees for the things that he is doing for you. So there are transaction costs. All investors have common expectations regarding the expected returns, variance, and correlation of returns among all securities. So this is also incorrect assumption, because all of us cannot assume same returns, same risk, and same correlation between returns. Each one of us has different thinking, and each one of us will analyze the market differently. So all of us cannot say that XYZ Limited share price will be 50 rupees tomorrow. How can all of us be same at the same time? Depends on what analysis we have done. The risk in investing is very high for such so and so company. All of us cannot say that in the same lines. Little bit of difference will be there. No single investor can affect the market price significantly. This can be taken as a true assumption, because the SEBI doesn't allow a single investor to move the market prices very easily. But to a certain extent, few people actually do it also. Example, the Harshad Mehta case. If you have seen Scam 1992 web series, you might have seen he had the power to control the market price of a particular share, increase it or decrease it. If you have not seen, watch that. It's a good web series. But in real life, SEBI doesn't allow. And if SEBI finds out that somebody is doing this, then they will be punished, imprisoned, and they will not be allowed for trading. Their licenses will be cancelled if they are the brokers. So no single investor can affect the market price. All investors have same knowledge about the securities. This is again not a right assumption, because the brokers and the people who are investing huge amount will have some insider information which we don't know as general public. So everybody doesn't get the same amount of information. Few people have a little more information, and a few get the information whatever is given by the company in the market. So this is the first assumption, that is efficiency of security market. In real life, it's not efficient. Second, the implication of investor preference. This assumption says that all investors prefer the securities that provide highest return for a given level of risk, or lowest amount of risk for a given level of return. That is, the investors are risk averse. So here he is trying to say that investors don't want to take risk. They want to invest in safe companies. So either they will say, for a given level of risk, I want very high return. So if I say the risk is 20%, for that 20% risk, my return should be very high. That is one of the expectations. Or we would say, at the lowest level of risk, I should get at least this much return. So in both the cases, they are trying to say that we want to earn more and more and have as less risk as possible so that we don't lose our money. So basically every investor is risk averse, not 100%. Averse means don't want to take risk. Risk taker is the person who intentionally takes risk. Averse is a person who tries to avoid taking risk. Okay, so general tendency is nobody wants to take risk, but when you trade in the market, you will have to face certain risk. You cannot be risk averse and enter into stock market. So that is the second assumption. Then the risk to which securities are disposed falls into two groups. Now this is important to understand for CAPM model. We have two types of risk. One is diversifiable and the other is non-diversifiable. Diversifiable risk is unsystematic risk. Actually, it is the risk of the firm. Okay, so if I say, we'll take some company. Suppose I say Happiest Mind, and is a company which is trading into IT related services, and I say that the risk of Happiest Mind is so and so 10%, 20%, 30%. So that is diversifiable risk or unsystematic risk. I'm just telling the firm risk, firm specific. So for this company, this much is the risk. When I say that is diversifiable, because that is company's risk. Company can reduce it by diversifying its investment in different projects or in different products and services. So it is controllable risk also, because the company can control, eliminate, reduce or diversify the risk because it's related to the company. Company knows what is going wrong and where it is going wrong. The next is the non-diversifiable or systematic risk. Now this is the market risk. This is not specific to any company, but this is the risk of the entire stock market, which equally affects all the companies. So if the market crashes, it falls down, all the company share prices will fall down. So it's not diversifiable. You can't reduce it. And we call it systematic because it affects in the same way to all the companies. So it is equally affecting. You cannot eliminate or diversify this risk because this is not in your control. It's not your firm specific factors, but it is affecting the entire country. And whatever happens in the country will happen to your company also. So that is non-diversifiable risk. According to CAPM, the non-diversifiable risk of an investment or security is assessed in terms of beta coefficient. So we are going to use this beta value in solving the CAPM model. That's why I have to tell you a little bit of theory. So the non-diversifiable risk or the market risk is measured in terms of beta. I will not teach you how to calculate beta. In the question, beta will be given. Using that beta, how to find the cost of equity, I'm going to teach you. To calculate beta, if I have to teach, we'll have to get into statistics, standard deviations, variance and all that, for which now the syllabus doesn't ask for it, and it will take a lot of time if I have to get into that. Okay, so beta is a measure of volatility of a security return relative to the return of the market portfolio. Volatility means change in prices or risk. So beta will tell you by how much your company's share will get affected if the market is getting affected. So if the market return is coming down, then your company return will also come down. If the market is growing, the company will also grow. So beta tells you how to measure your company's risk when market risk is given or as compared to the market risk. It is an index of degree of responsiveness or co-movements of return on an investment with the market return. So it is telling you how the company's return is moving compared to the market return. So by how much degree both are same, or company risk is comparatively lower than the market or it is higher than the market, you can study using beta. The beta for a market portfolio as measured by the market index equals to 1. So always remember the market beta will be equal to 1. Now if your company beta is 0.8, that means you are less riskier than the market. If the market will fall by 1 rupee, you will fall by 80 paise. Now the market beta is 1. if your company beta is 1.2, that means if the market falls by 1 rupee, you will fall by 1 rupee 20 paise. So what beta says, beta is 1. Okay, and you need to find your company's risk, that is your company's beta, and compare it with the market beta. If it is less than 1, that means you're less risky than the market. Even if the market falls, it will not affect you the same way or that heavily. And if it is more than 1, then whatever the market will fall, you're going to lose more than that. Okay, so beta coefficient of 1 implies security risk is equal to the market risk. Okay, the beta coefficient, beta equal to 0 implies there is no market risk to the investment. So if your beta is 0, company beta is 0, that means you don't have any risk, let whatever happen to the market. If it is less than 1, you're less risky. If it is more than 1, you're more risky. If it is exactly equal to 1, that means your and market risk are same. So that is how companies use beta to see whether they are more riskier than the stock market or they are less riskier than the stock. So this is a formula that we basically use for finding the CAPM. I'll explain you this formula. We'll not go into the merits, demerits. We'll start solving the sums after that. Okay. So with reference to the cost of capital perspective, the CAPM describes the relationship between the required rate of return or the cost of equity capital and the non-diversifiable or relevant risk of the firm, that is beta. I have written this formula in the Word document. I'll take you there and I'll explain. I hope everybody is listening.
Ma'am, actually, I have a question.
Yes.
Ma'am, where can we find the beta of a particular company, like online or somewhere?
Online, I don't know, I have not checked, but usually the company calculates its own beta by using the variance and standard deviation formulas. Whatever is the market return compared to their return, they will see the variance differences and then they will judge what is their risk and they will find the beta values. Now the companies should disclose beta values online. So I have not checked, but then I think you will get it. When I was doing analysis of bank returns, I got the beta value on Capital Line software, which is bought by the college, but you can use it only in the college. That means in
Okay, ma'am.
the college Wi-Fi domain, if the access is not at home. So maybe once you join, I will show you in one of the classes how to find in Capital Line software how to get beta of all the companies. Otherwise, on money control and all that, you can try. I have not tried. I'll check. If I can find any website that gives the beta value, I'll share it.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Now, what is CAPM? Yeah.
Ma'am, can you please explain a little about risk? Like how do we analyze a risk of a company?
See, to analyze risk of a company, you compare your company's returns with the market returns. So if the market has earned 100 rupees, you have earned 80 rupees. So the difference is 20 rupees. We call it as variance. We use that statistical formula as X, Y, then you find the mean, then you do X mean, Y mean, then you do X minus X mean, Y minus Y mean. So statistically, if I go, I'll have to show you how to calculate variance and standard deviation. That standard deviation that we calculate usually is the beta value. So here you just understand that you're comparing your company returns with the market returns to find out how much risky you are. Are you going in the same line with the market? If there is variance, if there is difference, that means there is risk.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Now, what are we going to do with the beta? Let's understand. I'll take an example and explain to you. I'm finding the cost of equity. RF is the risk-free rate. When I say risk-free rate, it is related to government bonds. Okay, where there is no risk. Government is 100% going to give your money back. Now, these bonds, when they are risk-free, their rates will be also very low. So, suppose you are earning 7% on government bonds. This is risk-free rate. Now, market return. Market return is nothing but how much the company pays you. If you invest in a private company or a public limited company which is listed on the stock exchange, how much they pay you. So this is company's return. Okay, now tell me, can the company pay you exactly 7%?
I think no, ma'am.
Will you? No, because you will say that, see, when I'm saving in government bonds, they're giving me 7% without any risk. And when I'm investing in your company, it is risky because you have no guarantee. You may shut down anytime, you may earn losses, but still I'm taking the risk and I'm giving you my money. So for that risk that I'm taking, you need to pay me something extra. So the companies will always have to pay you a little more than the risk-free rate. Otherwise, people won't invest. Now tell me, if stock market also gives you 5% return and your SB account also gives you 5% return, why will you put your money in stock market? You will keep it in your saving bank account, no? Just because
Yes, ma'am.
the market is giving you higher returns, sometimes it gives you 30% returns, 40%, even 100% returns. During the last pandemic, the prices were so low. All those who have invested, now their prices have also doubled for certain companies. So it has even given 100, 200% returns. So when we take risk, we get higher returns. So company has to give a little higher return. So suppose company decided to give you 11% return. So this is risky return, market return or the company return. And now suppose the company's beta is 0.8. Market beta will be always 1. So company's beta can be less than 1 or more than 1 depending upon the risk. If their risk is very high, it will be more than 1. That means you're riskier than the stock market. If it is low, then it will be less than 1. That means you are safer. Even if the entire market falls by 1 rupee, you will fall by only 80 paise. And if it is exactly equal to 1, that means whatever is the market risk, exactly the same way it is going to affect you. So suppose this company is less riskier than the entire market, so it's 0.8. Now how to find cost of equity? So cost of equity says you just can't take the risk-free rate. So 7% is the risk-free rate. But if I give you 7%, you will not accept, because you will say, see, I'm investing in your company, I'm taking risk, you have to give me more. So how much more? So 7% plus how much the company should give is what we are calculating. So to calculate that, first we need to take the risk, that is beta 0.8, and we need to multiply this risk with that more amount that the company needs. So how much more are we giving? 11% minus 7%. If I do, I'll get that additional. We also call it as risk premium. Because we are taking risk, we are getting little more. So I'm getting a premium. So when you do market return minus government bonds return, you get the risk premium. So 11 minus 7, how much? 4%. Okay, so cost of equity for the company will be 7% plus 0.8 into 4%. So see how much is 0.8 into 4?
0.0332.
0.03. No, you are doing 0.8 into 4, no? Directly don't convert it to decimals.
0.32, ma'am. 0.32.
80% of 4 is 0.32.
3.2, ma'am.
That's what I'm telling you, to do 0.8 into 4. Don't convert it to decimals. Don't do 4 divided by 100. Okay,
3.2, ma'am.
Okay. So 3.2%. So your cost of equity will be 10.2%. Now understand this. If you're going with the market return, whatever the stock market gives, you will have to give 11%. But market risk is 1. Your risk is 0.8. So you're less risky. When you're less risky, you will give a little less return than the market. That's why you're giving only 10.2% return on your equity. Are you understanding this? Market return is what the stock market is expecting you to give. or what the other companies are giving. And here the beta will be equal to 1 usually. Okay. Now your beta is 0.8. That means you are less risky than the market. If the market will fall by 1 rupee, you will fall only by 80 paise. Then your risk is less. You will give a little less returns. So you are giving only 10.2%. Are you all getting this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, no? Now
Yes,
suppose
ma'am.
this beta,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
change it to 1.2. Okay, suppose I make this beta 1.2. So market beta is 1 rupee. Your beta is 1 rupee 20 paise loss. So here instead of 0.8, let's take 1.2 and do it. Can anybody do it for me? 1.2 into 4.
4.8.
4.8, ma'am.
4.8.
Now see 7 plus 4.8. How much you get?
11.8.
11.8.
Yeah. See here, how much market is asking you to give? 11%. But how much you are giving?
11.8.
11.8%. Why are you giving? Why are you giving 0.8% extra? Because your beta is more than the market beta. If the market beta is 1, your beta is 1.2. That means if the market will fall by 1 rupee, you are going to fall by 1 rupee 20 paise. So that is the reason we basically are giving more returns. If the market is giving 11%, I'm giving 11.8. Did you understand the logic?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
the
ma'am.
beta will tell you how much, the beta will tell you how much you have to give as cost of equity. If your beta is high, you'll have to give higher. If your beta is less, you'll have to give little lesser returns as compared to the market. Okay, so now it's already time up. In the next class, we will do, I think Saturday you have a class, no? Now, next.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, this Saturday I'll take class and I'll finish this cost of equity and cost of retained earnings. One small sum is there. I'll finish that also and start WACC, weighted average cost of capital. From the next week, Rekha ma'am will take the class and she'll complete or continue with WACC, how much ever she can do. Okay. Any doubts, anybody you can ask, or else you can type your USN numbers and leave the meeting.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, when we are saying the market risk, so like overall market, how it is doing, that is seen,
Yeah.
and when it is compared with the company risk also,
Hmm.
individual company performance, is it like
Yeah.
that?
Yes. And always the market risk is considered as 1. So market beta is 1. You
Yes, ma'am.
calculate your company beta. If it is less than 1, that means company is less risky than the market. If it is more than 1, it is more risky.
Ma'am, I understood this beta part, but I did not understand how a risk is considered for a company, like in general.
That's what I told you. For that, company compares its prices, that is its returns, whatever earnings, with the market earnings, and they find the variance. And then
Okay,
through that variance, they find the standard deviation. There's a formula to calculate beta
okay.
for companies. So they use that formula and they calculate the beta value. That is the risk that they are handling.
Ma'am,
Mathematics,
then this
yeah.
must be a dynamically changing value, no? It is not constant, right?
Yes, but what the companies do, they cannot calculate their beta every day, no? So it's very
Right.
difficult. That's why we get yearly beta values.
Okay.
So they compare the yearly market return with their company return and they tell you yearly beta values as to how much we are better than the market.
Okay, ma'am.
And we can calculate it actually quarterly, half yearly also because there's a formula. It depends on what values you put and it gives you the answer.
Okay, ma'am. Got it. Thank you.
Any other doubts, anybody?
Ma'am, if you have the theory notes of this chapter, could you please share with us?
Yeah, the notes which I discussed now, that only I have it. I'll share it.
Okay.
One second.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, if the beta value is less than 1, company's
Hmm.
beta value, then cost of
Hmm.
equity will come equal to 11 or less than 11.
Less than 11. Because company's risk is less than